really long time.
Okay. So once you join, I can make you the host.
Okay.
Do you need the link? Elizabeth sent it in the email.
I'm sure I have it, yeah. Yeah, yes.
You got me. You got me.
Create something and then. Somehow, I mean, this is going into we, like, you just wanna write a letter or? We could definitely just, write something together rather than print it up here.
You need me to send the link to you?
No, I didn't. Oh, my phone, right now.
We can put. We have to be that.
You know, you'll have to turn your volume down. So it doesn't do that,
Yes.
that echo. Okay. Nicole, I'm not sure if you're here, but can you hear us okay? Let's see. She might not be on yet.
So.
What was that?
With so little. Yeah.
Hi, Christina, hi, Nicole.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Can hear us.
I'm doing good.
Nice. How are you doing, Christina? I thought I saw you on mute.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just stuffing my face with lunch right now, so try to keep it quiet, but I'm good. How are you?
Good, got it, sounds good.
Let it fly, Christina, me too.
Give it a couple minutes and then we'll get started. If y'all are able to, that would be great. If not, no worries. That's fun.
Hello, I'm Corey. Corey and Liz. Nice to meet you, Liz. Nice to meet you too. Is this where we're doing productivity coaching? Am I in the right spot?
You are in the
Yeah.
right spot.
Yeah, I'm gonna grab that first. Right.
Have you met Nicole or Christine?
I don't think so.
No.
Hi, guys.
They're both relatively new. I'm trying to remember when they joined. I think Nicole was maybe June or May. And Christina was maybe May or April.
Right.
And then Liz as well. Liz, when did you join?
May.
May.
Yes. Very cool. And you're all newly licensed or new to the office? Or yes?
Yes, I was licensed in Illinois, but I never utilized it for residential, so
Okay.
basically with license, yeah.
Got it, yeah. Gentleman who recently joined our team, who was from Michigan? Hang on that. And he had practice in it, going through contract and stuff with him, it shocked me how different two states can be. And you came up from Texas, I think is what I heard.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know that I really understood, like, some of the questions he was asking, I was like,
Where's that coming from?
tell me why.
Yeah.
And they just do things really differently. It was really interesting.
It's definitely interesting. It's interesting what is the same and what's different.
Yeah.
Like some of the things like, I think the biggest difference in Texas is the inspection period is handled differently, but it's the same. Like, concept in the sense that, that's the time for the, buyer to get the inspection, so the reasons are the same, it's just handled so
The
different.
process,
So,
definitely. Yeah, no, he was like, well, we know what we want them to do. Can they just send over a resolution instead of an objection? And I'm like, no. If you'd like to piss them off, I suppose you could try.
Yeah.
That's the point. I would not suggest starting there.
yeah,
I'm all for finding solutions, but
yeah, it's a little different.
yeah, just really fascinating.
Awesome. Hey, Mike. How's it going? Okay.
Hey there. We'll give it maybe a couple more minutes and then we'll jump in. And I didn't make a bunch of printouts. You guys are all on the computer.
Yeah, well, the Zoomers. Yeah. Yeah, ever since I feel like COVID, it's more on Zoom than in person.
I have mixed feelings about it. Like, I think it's really valuable as a tool for when it's needed. I also think that routinely we lose something when we don't
Yeah,
get a little pushier about being in person. So I don't know.
I definitely pay better attention when I'm in person. But when I need the Zoom, like you're saying, like when I can't, work it out with my schedule, it is great. 100%.
100%. All right. Really recruit this night.
What was that?
This is a largely very different group from who I did this with last time. I guess we've got 2 hours, so we'll be okay.
Did you do it for the skills lab?
I've done it still, I've just done a coach, like I've done the 2 groups of coaching. Okay, that'll be good. It's gonna be fun.
Yep. I'm excited. I think it's super cool. The disc, it's interesting to me, all the personality tests, because when you're taking it, it doesn't feel like they're gonna be able to guess your to predict your personality, and then especially like the sentences that it gives after describing you, I always feel like I'm like, wow, how did they get to that?
Oh, I don't like how you feel about me.
Yeah.
Like,
Here's what you're good at, here's what you're not good at. I'm like, wow, thanks for calling me out.
Sure.
Your office seems so big with the desk and everything.
I know, I need to decorate and So Charles and I were talking about what we're gonna do, because they had so much stuff crammed into.
I know.
I need a roommate, so they can. It was that back room, but I just switched with Charles and Elizabeth, so now they have a bigger room, so now I'm in there, but it's just happened like 2 days ago, so.
Charles that were crammed in there.
Well, and then, Eddie, sweet Eddie.
Yeah, they were, I mean, they're using every inch, so.
Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. There are multiple faces here that I did not recognize, so, I would love it if you would everyone just take 2 seconds to tell me your name and how long you've been in real estate, and, maybe one more thing you think I should know about you. So let's go, I'm gonna start in the room. I know Stephanie, I'm going to do it anyway.
You want me to do it? Hi, everybody. Some faces I've seen before too. I'm Stephanie Taylor. I've been with Keller Williams a little over 2 years.
No fun fact?
Oh, fun fact, I used to be a college professor.
Oh, cool.
That about you.
Yeah,
See,
you
what's
know,
that called? I was not a history professor. Very practical knowledge for the world.
I love it. You know, it is practical in some way. Okay, and Liv, your name, yes? I get it?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm like, should I talk to the screen or to the people?
You talk to everyone.
I'm sorry. I have been with Keller Williams and on the residential real estate side for just about a month now.
Okay.
And fun fact about me,
That's an interesting distinction. Have you been on a different side of the state? in the
I
past?
was, yes, okay, so that can be my fun fact. I was on the commercial property management side for 10 years.
Okay, very cool.
So I made a jump, but this is something I've been wanting to do for years, so I'm really excited.
Very cool. How about Christina and then Nicole?
Sure, sorry, I'm chewing. I'm Christina. I've been with Keller Williams for about, 3 months, since April, I guess. Fun fact, I don't know. I feel like everyone asks for the fun facts. I'm gonna run out of them without repeating myself. I am also a certified holistic nutritionist.
Very cool. Nicole?
Hi, I'm Nicole. I've been with Keller Williams I just hit my month. And fun fact, before that, I did hair. I was a cosmetologist and a barber for 10 years and a stay-at-home mom for the last 5 years.
Very cool. Welcome to K-Wave.
Thank
Let's do Michael and then Jeff. Michael, what are you
You can call me Mike. So I have been with Keller Williams for 4 months now, I think. So pretty new to real estate, obviously. So my name is Mike. Fun fact, I actually own with my wife a photo, video, and DJ company as well.
Oh, that is cool.
Yeah. And this is my second go round at real estate. So
Okay, I have more questions, but I'll ask them later. Jeff.
Can you hear me?
There you are.
I can't make my video work. I don't know what's going on there, but I've been with KW now like 3 years ish. And fun fact is born and raised in Sturgis, South Dakota. Big time part of the area.
Very cool. Okay. By a show of something, since I can't see all of you, how many of you have either taken this class either with me or this class with someone else in the past?
I haven't taken a class, but it got brought up in an unrelated class and I took it after.
Okay.
So kind of.
Okay. Okay.
I'm not.
Never, like, you don't know who this is, like, never, I mean. Okay.
I've had it mentioned in classes and talked about it,
This is for,
but I haven't done a whole class.
okay. Michael, Mike? No, Christina? No, Nicole?
No,
No?
no.
Okay,
Yes, you have a
audience. I'm really glad I asked this because Jeff, you've done this with me before, haven't you?
Yeah, I don't know which class we're teaching today, but yes, I have been in your class before.
Yeah, you've done that, okay. Okay, so we're going to pivot maybe just a little bit, since most of us have pretty limited familiarity. I won't keep one eye on the clock. But we'll kind of run through the basics. If you have done this class with me before, the first good chunk is going to seem very familiar, so if you're bored, you won't hurt my feelings, but you should come back for the end. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. This is a system of, it is a system. I'm not gonna say it's the system. It is a system.
Sorry to interrupt. Did you share your screen?
No, I'm working on it.
Okay, sorry.
You're good.
There it
Is
goes.
a system of
Thinking about it.
I know. Oh, there we go.
Sometimes you have to exit out and then try again if it sticks like that.
Sure. It's just like not doing anything. It's just, everyone looks frozen on the computer. That's not good. Uh-oh. That's not good.
Might have been too much.
overload.
It's thinking again. Everything on my screen looks frozen. That's not a good thing. It's on my end.
Might have to restart your.
Oh. Ah,
You're connecting on the screen.
okay.
I'm gonna try again, see if it'll work.
All right. Can everyone hear me?
Yes,
Yeah,
Sorry about that. Oh, it's still not sharing?
No. What we could try instead is stop the share. And then minimize Zoom. And then the PowerPoint to get to your desktop. We can try to screen share from your laptop to the TV. It's not gonna work.
Okay.
Or you could also share the PowerPoint with me and I can do it on my computer. That works, if that's easier.
I will do whatever you think I should do. I don't really know what to do with it on the screen share, so I'm open to suggestions. Let's try this one. On my end, it looks like it's working.
Yeah, that's strange. Try exiting one more time and then.
Oh, hold on, I saw something. I'm out. There it
Oh,
goes.
there it goes.
Okay.
Okay, can everyone on Zoom see that?
yep, you're good.
Yes.
There's always something that goes wrong with Zoom.
Accountants.
Yep.
Perfect. I'm not gonna try to get any fancier than this, but you can see it. Okay. DISC is a system of analyzing people's personalities, and it will put you into one of four categories. Here's what I like about DISC is that it is fairly simple to use without taking tests. There are a million tests out there, and we're not going to take a single one of them today. I do have some recommendations. Tony Robbins has a great one. It's only like $30-40. I would absolutely encourage you to go take it. It will tell you about your things. It will maybe freak you out a little bit. And sometimes it gives you a little bit of insight. But today's is going to be a more practical functional class. And one of the things I like about DISC is it's relatively easy to put yourself and people that you have had at least a little bit of interaction with and make an educated guess as to which personality type is their dominant. So a couple of things, no one is one thing. You take the test, you go take the test with someone, they will tell you, this is your primary, this is your secondary, or these are your primary two, and they're pretty closely matched. This one they're very low on, and so no one is just one thing. So keep that in mind as you're going through this. This is not a cheat code for humanity, but it can be a very helpful tool, especially if it's obvious that you can see someone. It can be a very useful tool in your toolbox to pull out when you're hitting some walls. So at its core, to decide what personality in the DISC system you are, you're going to ask two questions. So step one is figuring out yourself. So we'll go through this a little bit. Question number one is, are you more reserved or are you more outgoing? These are on the wrong side of the thing, don't worry about it. So when you think about yourself, are you someone who tends to be gregarious, who is not afraid to speak up? When you are in groups, are you naturally more outgoing or are you naturally more reserved? It's not necessarily an introvert extrovert thing. I'm not talking about what energizes you, but are you naturally that more, outspoken, or are you naturally more quiet? Question number two is, are you more task oriented or are you more people oriented? When you sit around, are you thinking about how the people around you are feeling? Are you worried about how you're feeling? Are you worried about the job that they did or the job that you did? Are you, in general, are you more task oriented or are you more people oriented? Has everyone answered those two questions more or less for themselves? Yeah. Okay. So when you do that, you're going to end up in one of these four quadrants. If you are more outgoing and more task oriented, we're going to land in this quadrant right here, or the D. D tend to be dominant. They tend to be your leaders. They're leaders. And we'll do more in a minute. But if you are more outgoing and people oriented, you're going to land in this quadrant up here, where you're an I. And these are your influencers. These are your outgoing, cheerful, fun people, things like that. If you are more task-oriented and reserved, you're going to be over here. You're a C, D-I-S-C. These are your conscientious people. They tend to be reserved and task-oriented. They tend to be detail-oriented, very good with details. Or are you more people-oriented and reserved? These are your steady people. These are your, people sometimes will call them your golden retrievers. These are your peacemakers. They don't like to ruffle a lot of feathers, but they tend to be very, very kind. Okay. Personality traits of, I've got to see if I can move something. Oh, almost. My screen sharing is right where I need to be.
Yeah. But it's not right there.
Yeah, you can see. Okay, personality traits of these, they tend to be dominant. They are your decision makers. They tend to be very direct, driven, doers, leaders. These are your bottom line people. As you think through your office, have you guys spent some time with Kevin?
Yep,
Super high D.
he's always just
Yep.
bottom line.
Tell me
Yeah.
the story.
Yeah.
Get to the point. I don't need all the fluff. Very super high D.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was Stephanie.
Personality traits. These are your, I stands for influencer. These are your outgoing, very people oriented. They tend to be really interesting. They tend to be very, very friendly, emotional, enthusiastic, optimistic, and mostly they're fun. These are your people who just want everything to be a party and will make it so. They're usually not hard to spot in a group because they tend to be the loudest usually. Your eyes, Debbie Witt.
Yeah, she's who I first, and I feel like Margaret also
She does have the money. Yeah.
Like, it might not be her top one, but I definitely,
Yep.
she likes to have fun,
Mhm.
and I feel like she's always super outgoing and friendly as well.
Yeah, yeah. I think Margaret's primarily a D, but she has a lot of.
I cannot, yeah, I
Yeah.
think so, yeah.
S personality traits, and side note, Ds and Is are by far and away the most common personality types in real estate. Without question. Especially, I'll slowly say, S's are your steady people. So you're reserved and people oriented, they are kind, they are peacekeepers, they are sincere, they tend to be very dependable and diplomatic and easygoing. They're usually very friendly people, like Elizabeth. This is Elizabeth. No. Oh, not Elizabeth. This is me, but you guys don't know me very well. Andy, I bet, is E.
I feel like Stacy is.
Stacy is also an F, yeah, Stacy is an F. Yep.
I could see Elizabeth coming off to you as S. Or like as she's doing her onboarding sessions, I guess. Yeah, coming across.
I hope she has an S. Elizabeth, C. These are your content. They are detail oriented. They tend to be very precise. They have a very strong sense of right and wrong. They're methodical. They like to be accurate, and they like the people around them to be accurate and very focused. Okay. So when you ask those two questions about yourself, and is there anyone here who's going, "Oh, that doesn't sound right"?
With the first time I took it, which was a few years ago, I'm high C, low D, which I wouldn't have guessed that I had the low D part of it. I would have guessed, I think, S maybe. So that was surprising to me. The being the highest with the C as the highest, that really wasn't surprising because I feel like I'm super organized and detail oriented, but it just kind of gave me a like deeper understanding, I think.
So I would love to go through, and if you guys tell me what you think your personality is based on this, and then we're gonna, if you're still waffling, the next section will probably help.
I will tell you that I'm an I.
I'm aware of that.
Yes.
Liz, what do you think you are?
I think maybe C, but I can't fully identify it.
Anyone online want to tell me what personality you think you are?
I did the test just recently,
Okay,
and I'm like 100% D, 80% I, and 50% S, and like 0 on C.
fair. Whoops. I get that. Okay. If you are still waffling on which one you think might be your primary, it is my experience that you will often get your answer when you start looking at the weaknesses of these different personality types, and they will sometimes resonate a little bit stronger. Those are not things to work on. So these weaknesses and needs, so these are your task-oriented and outgoing people, your leaders. Out of control or stressed out Ds. It doesn't mean that these people are always like that, absolutely. But when they get stressed or are reactive, these are the things that they can come across like this. They can be a freight train. They'll come over and just run the people over around him with their plan. They can be impatient or insensitive. They will make decisions unilaterally sometimes without consulting even people that they should. They can be forceful and they get very my way or the highway. These have a need for you when you were communicating with them to be direct and to the point. They want bottom line results. They do not want a lot of fluff. They need autonomy and control and measurable results. So if you say, look, if we do this, then we know we will get this. There's someone's talking in the chat, I just realized.
Oh, that was Nicole.
Okay.
I
I
wanted
was
to.
gonna say, who knows today?
Yeah.
Okay,
She'll be back, yeah.
so if that sounds like you when you get stressed out, that might be your strong one. Eyes when they are out of control or stressed, can be a little insecure. They are emotional. They're easily distracted or impulsive. And they can get a little disengaged if they're bored. So if you're a high I, you might think real hard about how many classes you should be taking on Zoom, because it's very easy to.
Yeah.
I's need things to be fun. They want to, I wrote gold stars here, and it's not in a silly way. It's the, when they do something well, they have a need for people to notice and for you to out loud tell them that they did it well. They're probably gonna need some help with the details. Reminders of practical goals, and face-to-face time. S's. Fun fact, I am an S, and I very frequently, when I teach this class to a group of real estate agents, the only S in the room. Not always, but usually. They're one of the most common, they make up, I thought I had percentages in here, but there are more S's in the population than there are any other personality type. And there are not many of us in real estate. And so it's very, so I say that just to, you know, most people, this doesn't come as naturally to. Out of control, stressed out S's can be indecisive, they can be avoidant. If you put too much pressure on them, they might stop taking your phone calls. They will be people pleasers to their own detriment sometimes. Procrastinators, they can be sensitive. S's need, in order to be successful, patience. They need some safety and security. They need to know that you're there for them, that you've got a plan. Low conflict. You need to handle problems carefully. They need reassurance and time. You put them up against a time crunch and they're going to react poorly. C's. C's in real estate very often, not always, will end up on the administrative side of real estate, and God bless them, like we need them, especially all the other personality types desperately need them. Most very good TCs are high in C's or high in their C value, as well as NCAs, also very common. Out of control or stressed out C's can be old. They come off like they don't care. It's not that they don't care, but sometimes they come off that way. They can come off as a know-it-all. They can be very rigid in how they do things. And they can miss the big picture for the little things and resistant to change. In order to be successful in general, Steve need a plan. They need you to show up consistently. They need checklists. They love checklists. And they want all of the details, and they need to know why you're doing the things the way you are. They're not likely to just accept because I said so. Okay?
I like a good checklist.
Me too. I was thinking that, I love my checklist.
Yeah, like I said, and most people really truly are not one thing. Most people have a dominant and a second, and natural versus adapted styles. Most people have a natural style, and when I say natural, when you're stressed out or when you're comfortable or when you're home, this is how you exist naturally. Most people also have an adaptive style that tends to show up when you're at work. These are the things that you have learned to do well.
Nature versus nurture,
It,
basically.
very much. And this is the way that, you know, sometimes Margaret is a funny one, because occasionally people will mislabel her because she has decided to portray certain characteristics for her work. So it's a very interesting one. So no one is just one, and the first thing to do is to start by knowing your own styles and your own strengths and your own weaknesses. And then we're going to get a little bit more into learning how to mirror people's styles and energy and figuring out how to work with them. Like I said, we're not gonna do it today, but I really would encourage you, if you haven't taken a test, to go do it. It can be very insightful. So, step one in knowing others is to do the exact same thing when you were asking yourself. And really, step 0 is making the decision to pay attention to these things when you're interacting with people. Not everyone is going to fit neatly into a box, but you will, especially as you work through a transaction with them. We're going to talk mostly about working with clients today. As you work through a transaction with them, you are going to get some sort of indication of their personality. And if you don't right off the bat, you will by the time you're done. You just will. So start by, are they more outgoing?
Maybe you have to walk through.
Are they more reserved? Is this a person who is animated and uses a lot of talks with their hands a lot? Do they speak up easily, or is it someone that in order to hear talk, you've got to stop talking and listen? Do they talk about the future, or do they talk about right now? If they're, you know, if they seem like they've got a lot of future dreams and goals and they talk about them a lot, they're generally more outgoing. Yeah, fix my PowerPoint, okay. My spots reversed twice. All right, step 2, know others. Asking the same question you asked yourself. Do they seem like they're more task oriented, or are they more people oriented? Who or what do they talk about? You say, catch me up on your week. Do they tell you about their friend, or do they tell you about their job? Do they talk about their coworkers, or do they talk about some, you know, this is what I did, right? So asking those things. Do they show emotion easily? And that might be a quiet, quiet emotion, or it might be, gregarious, outgoing, laughter, any of those things. So those are clues to which one they are. And so once you answer, you end up on the same chart as you did before. So this is a little more detailed, and you guys probably can't see it super well. I'm gonna zoom in one at a time. So D's, this is, just to really just another viewpoint of what we already went through. D's ask what? Okay, so that's their primary question. They will be direct and self-assured, seizing opportunities and result-oriented. You may see them be very demanding. D's as clients, they make up approximately 10% of the population. Praise the Lord, there are not more of them out in the world because too many leaders and not enough, people for them to work with. It can be, especially if you're a high D and you have a high D client, this is either going to go really well or really poorly. So be very careful, because you can butt heads very easily with a high D, especially if you are one.
Makes me think of the phrase, too many cooks in the kitchen.
These, if you are working FSBOs, you are very, very highly likely to encounter a high D. This by far and away is the most likely person to be like, I'll just do it myself. These
How
people,
hard can it be?
they might fight back on you when you tell them that they need to stage their home, because God forbid they did it wrong. But also they have a hard time understanding why taking some pictures down is going to help their bottom line. And so you need to go in with that, with anything you ask them to do, be ready to back it up with some numbers. Staging gets our customers anywhere from 4 to 8% more, whatever it is. So those little things like that, they're going to be a little reluctant to do and need you, but they do need you to be direct. They do not want you to sit around and float. They need to be in control. They have fears of things like being taken advantage of or a loss of control. Okay, so there's a little bit more about your D's as you're thinking about other people, especially your clients. I's, your influencers. Okay, so these are still your outgoing people, but these are more people-oriented than task-oriented. They can be very persuasive. These are the kinds of people that you get on the phone, and this is good communicator, but on the flip side of that, you may send a 2-minute conversation could easily take 20. So just be ready. They can be a little overly enthusiastic, and they can also get their feelings hurt faster. It's just a natural. If their highs are high, the lows are lower than most of the other personality types, and it can be beautiful, but it can also be challenging. They care about status. They tend to like shiny. There's 2 types of S's when you have buyers, by the way. One, they like all the shiny things.
Oh, there's the eyes, you're talking about
eyes.
Yeah.
2, they have all the vision in the world. And both of these will need a little bit of reminding down to reality. You can make things pretty, but also maybe let's be realistic about our budget for upgrades, because they will either want to spend more than they can, or they will, think that they're going to fix all the things that maybe they shouldn't. So just to be cautious.
What percentage of the population are eyes?
I will look it up, I don't remember, they're up, yeah, I wanna say. I have it,
I'm just curious.
I'll look it up for you, I think they're second to S's, and then, C's and then D's.
Okay.
So I'm just.
I just Googled it. I
Okay.
don't know if this is correct, but it
Probably.
says, S is 69%,
Yeah.
C is 17, I is 11, and then D is 3.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's correct.
That's probably a little more skewed than I would see in the past, but it's the right, it is what I would expect to hear in them. I think there are more eyes than C's than what it would say, but,
Yeah.
anyway, so just so you're aware of. If you're working with S's. Oh. There you go. There it is, okay. You maybe accidentally added a slide, but we'll get through it. All right, your steady golden retriever people. They're a joy to work with most of the time. They will do what you tell them most of the time. However, they can also be very indecisive. And they may need some encouragement to actually get there. It can take them a long time, and sometimes they need deadlines with some time so that they will actually make decisions. They are afraid of a loss of stability. These are your people who will sometimes stay in a house and not sell because they're scared to death of making sure they find a new one. They're gonna need a lot of reassurance and those kinds of things. And they appreciate the status quo and the absence of change. Your C's, these are very critical thinker. If you have a high C, you need to plan a little bit more time to go over a contract with them. Just fact, they're gonna ask all the questions, they're probably gonna read it. They can be critical. Sorry, someone in the process of me. They like to be precise, they want to get things right the first time, double check your work before you send it, they're gonna catch your errors. You just gotta know what they're looking for and what they need. Okay, so I started this, E's ask what, I's ask who's gonna be there. S's ask how are we going to get this, how are we going to do this? And C's ask why are we doing it this way? Okay. Questions, comments? Nothing?
I have two high C buyers that are a couple, and they're friends of mine, but with the contract, we went through every single paragraph, every single thing, they were asking about everything. And I kind of knew that going into, and I'm glad that I was able to be prepped for that, so it didn't come as like a shock to me or.
One of my favorite ways to get a glimpse of what my client might be right towards the beginning is to ask them, and I do this with every single client. And the funny thing is, it doesn't really change what I do that much, but it gives me insight into them. On a scale, when we're sitting down to do their buyer or listing paperwork, I'll ask them on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being just tell me where to sign, I trust you. And 10 being, I want to know every word in this contract. Where are you on the scale of how much information you'd like me to go through? Because if they say a 1, I guarantee they're an I and they already trust you. If they say a 10, by the way, no one ever says 1 or 10. But if they say 9 or a 10, they are probably a very high C, and you should be prepared to answer all of their questions.
Yeah.
And then, the difference, a D is gonna say, hit me with the highlights. And an S would be, oh, whatever you think. You can look like a 5 or 6, and we'll say, whatever you think I need to know.
That's the I.
No, those are the S's. Yeah, the S will say whatever you think. I's, tell me where to sign, I don't care. D's, hit me with the highlights. C's, want to know all the details. Okay, so it's a very telling question. And the truth is, for me personally, there are certain highlights that I don't care what number you tell me we're hitting on, and I'm not reading through the whole thing with you. But if you can tell me a 9 or a 10, I'm gonna go through maybe the highlights a little more detailed, and I'm gonna give you the opportunity to read the contract on your own. And write me with any questions, email me or call me if you have any questions. If you have a high C, do not ever ask them to sign something immediately that they haven't had a chance to review. They will, it's a very high pressure situation for them, you're just asking for trouble. Yeah. So our next question is, to be very cognizant of, probably as we went through this, at this point, you should have an idea of number one, who you are, where you fit best or most, maybe not all, but at least a good chunk of you. And probably, if you think through your life, you will recognize that there are certain personality types that are easier for you to work with than others. And so my challenge is always, what personality type is the hardest for me to work with? And I'll tell you, for me, I'm a high S and almost as high as a C, so SC. And I have almost no I, and I's are hard for me. I love them. I'm married to a high I.
I love you too.
I'm married to high I, but working with them is a challenge, and it just is. And so I have to remind myself that I need to keep it, keep it light. I tend to maybe give more details and more explanations than they care to hear. And so I have to remind myself and sometimes check that. We tend to communicate in a style that we want someone to communicate with. But as real estate agents, it's our job to learn their communication style. And it's almost like learning a whole other language. I can speak in English to someone who's speaking Spanish all day long, but I'm not going to be heard. And as their agent, it's my job to learn at least the basics of their language enough to communicate what they need. Okay. So we're going to talk a little bit about how each personality reacts in conflict. And then we're going to go through some examples. And if anyone else wants to give some examples of personality types, challenges, and how they were solved, or how they wish they had solved them, we could do that too. Or probably not. Okay. So D. In a conflict, Ds will start making demands. They will become overly assertive. They become unbending. They don't want to talk about it anymore. It's my way or the highway. That's it. And I can be explosive. These are your people you're likely to see an emotional outburst from. And it's funny because in the moment, if you're not thinking about it, sometimes I's will look like D's, but how you fix it is very different. So if you have someone who is emotionally reacting to something that doesn't make any sense, and they're getting very demanding, you might think that they're reacting like a D. You might think again, and I'll give you my example here in a little bit. They might get attack. That's the wrong word. They might attack you, or they might attack the other agent, or they might attack. It gets very personal. So when an I is in a transaction and they don't feel like, and it starts becoming more abrasive instead of collaborative. And as much as we would like to sit here and say that we're all the same team, we're all trying to get through this together, the reality is in this business, sometimes you're trying to get to the closing table, you are not on the same team. And so when an I starts feeling like not everyone's working together, they can get really frustrated very quickly. A C, these are your detail people, remember, they might keep their thoughts to themselves, but they might withdraw and they might start planning what they're going to do next, right? So these are your people who, when transactions get tough, may be shopping for their next house already.
And you might not know.
You might not know, or you might not know, but when you start seeing, if you have someone that is a high C and they're sending you new houses when you're under contract, that should be a red flag to you that they're getting stressed out and they're checking out a little bit on this transaction. So, and sometimes you can fix it and sometimes you can't, but it should be a red flag. S's, out of all of the out of all the personality types, and S needs you to go to bat for them. Because they won't necessarily always stand up for themselves, especially if they're married. We're not even talking marriage dynamics today, but when you have a couple, married or not, and they're two different personality types, it's really important to keep an eye on both of them and make sure both of them are getting their needs met. But an S will tend to get into the peace, and they can be a little bit, they can be a little bit of a pushover, and they may tolerate things that they shouldn't. And so it's very important that when you're working with these people, that you can tell me that you're on their team in a big way. Okay. All right, I have.
It's interesting with the fight or flight. I haven't thought about it in that way before, but that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, your C's and your S's will tend to withdraw in one way or another. Your D's and your I's will tend to, oh yeah, well,
Yeah.
okay. So I'm gonna go through a couple of situations. All of them are real, some of them recent, some of them not so much. And kind of just try to dissect from what little information I gave you, what you think their primary personality type is, and what they need in that situation to be successful. Okay. Mr. Y is your buyer is purchasing a home. He is a super fun, joking person until he gets stressed, and then he can be reactive. Joy of going under contract is contagious and he is over the moon, but when things go for him not poorly, he reacts equally strongly and becomes emotional quickly. Gotta know what his personality type is right now. You've turned in an inspection objection that, along with a few other things like minor electrical work and roof repairs, includes a request for it to be professionally cleaned because it was quite filthy at inspection compared to when it was originally shown, and replacing many missing screens. The seller has agreed to do everything on the list except the screens, and only has given $300 for cleaning, not the $800 for a full move out clean that the buyer wanted. Buyer announces that if they want to live in a filthy, bug infested home, that they can do that, but they certainly will not. And I'm out if they won't give us the rest of our money. True story, no. I very recently, this year. So let's start with, and move my screen again, hold on. So with that story, knowing that they're an I, what do I's need in order to help get them back on track?
A deep breath.
Reminder of practical goals, is that what that says?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's one thing. So these are all true. Okay, so you can't give them a gold star as anything.
Yeah. We're throwing tantrum.
Okay, you're not gonna make this fun. You can remind them that we're trying, in this particular case, we're trying to get you into a place, you know. So the reality of this inspection negotiation is they've gotten everything they wanted except for $250.
Maybe help with the help with details, maybe like help with them finding a cleaner and setting up a cleaner the day of or after closing.
Here's what they really needed. Remember I said, I asked who? He needed to know I was on their team. So when you have an emotionally reactive person, and I'm only going to say us, because this is true of all, but especially of us. This is true of all people. He needed to know that I would fight for him if I really wanted to. And here's your other information. I'm on your team. We're going to do this together. When you get an I or a T, but especially an I, who starts feeling like you're maybe on the other team, they will get their feelings hurt very quickly, and they can be very challenging to work with. Okay. All right. Next. Mr. R is your seller. He's been a little challenging, question why CV is necessary, seriously considered selling as a FSBO, but he agreed to list with you and he is now under contract. He has just received his inspection objection, and it is 16 items long. Some few are significant, it needs a new roof because of hail damage and radon. And some are important but simple, things like electrical work and some are pretty ridiculous. But at the end of the day, he took one look at that list and said, you've got to be kidding me, my house is great. If these people don't want it, they can go pound sand. So he has announced that the buyer can shove it, and he's not doing anything.
You just described my father.
Yeah, that's mine too.
Yeah.
Even if that means he has to go back to the market and loses the new house that he's also under contract with and has to stay put in that house forever, he's not doing it. What do you do?
I think the same thing in a way with the eyes is you have to get them to, let them vent and then get them to regroup and say, okay, what's important here? Let's look at this list as big blocks. Is it that has to be done, could be done, doesn't need to be done? Let's split it up that way.
Yeah.
Let's talk about those individually. Let's go back. Yeah.
So and those are great solutions. What I want you to hear today, though, is when you're working through all of these personality types, is there's an emotional component that needs to be acknowledged before you can move on. So with the I's, it's, I'm on your team, I'm here. With D's, it is, you're in control and I'll support your decisions. Which means, Mr. Seller, I hear you. This is a list that is a little bit ridiculous. And if you really do want to back out on all of this, I'll help you do it. And we don't, just because they've asked for all these things doesn't mean that you have to do it. You get to make the next call. You get to say none of it, and they probably will walk. Or you can look at it and say, you know what? Any buyer who comes through is going to require that I replace the roof, and my insurance is going to cover most of it. Any buyer who comes through is going to require a radon. So I'm either going to have to put in a radon system or give them $1,000 credit. But here are your choices. How would you like to proceed? And I've got it. So just giving them back in control, because when a high D receives that list of demands, it can feel very much like they're not in control, but they are. They get to decide what they do with that list. And so just giving them those decisions, in this particular case, we went back with a solution, just like you would any other thing, and reminding them that they do have goals. And especially if you've got a really good offer, some kind of net sheet on, look, if you walk in this deal, you might not have to do 8 of these things on the list, but you're also going to lose X amount of dollars. For a high D, those numbers are really important.
Christina had a comment. She said, I think it would be helpful to prime these types of people before the inspection takes place to let them know that there will be a negotiation process involved. That way they aren't taken off guard so easily.
Yep, 100%. I'm gonna go back through here just a minute, and we're gonna go back and talk about each personality and things that you can do to set them up for success. Okay, Mr. B is co-buying a house with his grandmother. She is the very sweet, very quiet little thing, and he is determined to help her get the very absolute best possible situation, bar none. After months of looking and analyzing everything, they're finally under contract on their dream home. When they get the home inspection, however, it comes back with nothing major, but he is absolutely determined to ask for every single thing on it. You know, as his agent, that if they do that, they will likely end up losing the house, and there are probably backup offers for it. So, number one, what personality type are we dealing with?
He's a D, it sounds like.
D, yep.
Because they're asking for everything.
Every single thing is a very big deal, and they will, a high C can very easily hyperfixate on very minor problems. It's just true. So what can you do to help that person through that situation?
Walk them through the contract details.
Yeah, here are your rights, here's what you can do.
Maybe like go through the inspection more, or like get the inspector looped back in and get their opinion on what's most important.
Yep. And also, there are some programs that I found very helpful in this particular situation that will help them know how much each of these things is actually going to cost, right? So here's the problem with an inspection, a thorough inspection report for a high C fire. Is they have all of this list of problems, and the vast majority of them have absolutely no concept of how much it's going to cost. So all they see are dollars, dollars, dollars. And that's a really scary thing for a high C person. So what a C needs, I will help you make a plan to take care of these things. These things that are important to you, I'll help you make a plan. And so whether that means pumping the entire inspection report through a system that will give you an approximate budget for each item, I would caution you to do that carefully, because those numbers tend to come back high for obvious reasons, and I'll get to later. But if you've got, electrical is one of those, is a big one. Because when you read through electrical problem, a lot of times it sounds like this long list of scary things. When you actually get a quote, it's a few $100s. Now, if it's replacing the electrical panel, that's a different conversation, but that's not what we're talking about here, right? How much will it cost to have a handyman come and replace the caulking in the bathroom? How much will it cost? Replacing an outlet that's too close to water that doesn't have the switch, the safety switch, the DFI grid. It's like $30, right? But people see that, and so helping them know that here's an electrician, here is a carpet person, here is a this, and this is what it's going to cost you. And even before you do that, if you say, okay, can we agree that you should not be asking for anything that costs less than X. Okay. So helping them go through and making sure that they have a plan, that those things that seem really important, it's not that if you buy the house, they're not going to get fixed, right? If you choose to do that, that's okay. So helping them make a plan. All right, Mr. G is quiet and a quiet and kind first-time home buyer buying in a competitive price point. He or she, I tricked it, anyway. She has worked at many homes, lost out on a few houses she liked because she waited too long or was unwilling to put in competing offers. She's running out of time on her new lease and is now talking about wanting to just renew her lease. What personality type? Starting those S's. Sometimes changes stuff scarier. These
are the S is the majority, right?
Yep, there are a lot of S's out there. S's need to know that you're going to help them through it and that they will fight for you, not with you, for you. They're going to help you do all the hard things. S's need a plan. You need to and timeframes and expectations. So if you say, look, we're going to go look at these houses, but we only have until X to make an offer. It also helps them to be confident. So if you have a very indecisive S and they finally love a home, you should try very hard not to put them in a situation where they're already at the top of their budget and they get outbid, because they will get burnt out very quickly and they get burnt like that very many times. So having a discussion that, if you're in a competitive season, which, it's not near as bad as it was for a while, making sure they're stopping a little bit under their budget so that they safely can go in and say, look, I know there's another offer, but I'm telling you that I know your finances and good at my job, and if you want this house, I think we can get it. So that you can be very confident for them in those situations. That makes sense? Okay. I'm gonna save that one for later. I'm gonna come back. So. What are things you can do as an agent to help set a D up for success? And I will start with Christina's comments. Setting the expectation that there is more than one negotiation tactic can make it from a point of stress to a point of fun. Most of these like to negotiate, but you need to set the expectation that they may have to give a little at this point. And so, we're starting higher, that's great. We plan on giving a little bit back. What else can you do for a D? Someone who needs control and likes to be charged to set them up for success in a transaction.
I keep coming back to the term bottom line, so I feel like. Always knowing what the bottom line or what the summary of what's going on is, so it. Or to better reach them, you can just make sure you're giving them that right off the bat.
Here we are in the timeline, here's what to expect next, that kind of thing.
Yep, an abbreviated version of, here's our next step. We still have, I mean, you know, we still have 50, if we go under contract on 2 houses, we still have $50,000 to work with, that our numbers still work extremely well.
Yeah. Maybe like, here's what I need from you, maybe that's giving them some control in that way.
Controlled choices can be great. Right, so like, look, would you rather handle it this way, or would you rather handle it this way? If you're the buyer, would you rather ask for money and you have control over what you're going to do, or would you, rather ask them to do it so it's ready to move and move in?
How about talking it up like it's a good deal before you actually get too deep into numbers?
Making sure that the purchase, what they're buying is a good deal.
Or
Yeah.
telling-
Telling them that.
Yeah, no, I think that there's some truth in that. Most teams are very, they tend to be aware of it. They want to come out on top, but make sure you can back it up. I would say. How about your eyes? What can you do for an eye to help set them up for success?
Chocolate. Just saying, people.
Yeah, not false. Eyes need to know that you care about them. So before you do all that detox, they will go to the moon and back as long as they think that you're in their corner.
So maybe like, if you can somehow bring it up or remind them at like every time you see them. Like that you're on their team, you're helping them, even if things are all going smoothly, like maybe just a reminder every time.
The high eye problem client that was mad about the $250. I'll tell you, I went through 3 transactions before we got these guys closed, and 2 transactions on the house they were selling. By the time we were done, my husband laughed. He's like, "You speak very good Mauer now." That was our last name. And I did not at first. And part of it was, I was trying to talk reason into them, and all they heard was, she's fighting for the other team. And what I found by the end is all I really had to say was, if you want me to fight like this, we're gonna do it. And they rarely actually did. They just needed to know that I was on their team.
With this, I would be tempted with an eye to, for example, if you have them on a feed and they're looking for something specific, every once in a while, look through the feed they're getting and pick out a house and say, hey, this one really reminds me of you. Like, here's a little extra concierging stuff. I don't really want you.
Yeah.
Proving that you're on their team.
And also, on the same token though, making sure that their search parameters aren't too wide if they're buyers. Cause they will stop reading your emails. Like, out of all the personality types, these guys will stop reading your emails if they get too many. Or they're, just super dry or boring. Yeah.
Make it fun.
Make it fun, keep it simple. How about your S's? What can you do to set up your S's for success?
If they have a detailed plan in place that they're aware of and on top of.
Those are your C's. Your S's are your steady, friendly.
How about asking them what they need?
Yeah.
Right off, like making it about them.
Yeah. These guys also need to know that you're in their corner and that you're gonna help, you're just gonna be there every step of the way. These are people you should be careful when you're in the transaction of making sure that their timelines aren't super tight. So especially for inspection, if let's say you have a seller who's a very high S, these are not the people that you want to hand over an inspection objection and have to have a resolution the next day. That's a good way, like, they might not even call you back if they're if they're out of control and stressed. So make sure that you have a few days to help say, look, and better yet, by the time you go to them with an inspection objection, like, look, don't worry about these items, we're just gonna tell them no. These are the items that we need to decide what we're gonna do with. This is about how much they're gonna cost. If you can come alongside them with a plan, so it's not so scary, it'd be really helpful. And to some degree, those are all of your people. But your S's specifically need time to make those decisions. Try not to put them in a situation where they have an inspection objection the same date, deadline, the same day as their inspection. C's, what can you do to set a C up for success?
Say again, Elizabeth.
Yep.
Then make a detailed plan.
Yeah.
Make plans.
Like lots of numbers, like make sure your CMA really has, you understand it and you can go through that with them and expect that they're gonna read through everything.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you should double check all your communication.
If you have a TC, use them. Yeah, give them, they love lists. Here's where both your S's and your C's get a little bit paralysis by analysis. And your C's may just, your C's are going to do things, very annoying things, like compare cost of square footage. They just are gonna do that, right? And so just helping them focus on on the pieces that matter. Your S's may want to see all of the options. With my high C, that was in my problem that I mentioned earlier, I threatened to quit. And I meant it, because we had looked at so many houses and we had found the perfect house that they had gone home over the moon in love with. I wrote up a contract and they went home and they're like, we're scouring the internet to find just one more that they needed to compare it to. And I told them at that point, I was like, here's the deal. I'm gonna take you to see one and only one more house, at which point you're going to write on one of them. I knew which one it was gonna be, it was not even close. You're going to write on one of them, where you're going to find a new agent. I've never said that before, but I meant it. And they did, and they listened, and so sometimes they need boundaries too, and you might need a boundary, and you might need a boundary that says, and so reminder of big picture goals, cost of square footage in the grand scheme of things does not matter. What does matter is that you have enough space for your family to do the things you want to do in your budget. So, trying to reminding C's to they've got it every now and then look at the big picture, not just the picture.
Can I tell a story about C?
Please.
Hi, I here. Hi, my name is Hi I, and I just closed to deal with 2 high Cs. And we did the walkthrough yesterday. They live out of state. They were seeing the house for the first time. We've been through a lot of drama over wanting things that they were never gonna get, like having every ceiling scraped and refinished because it was popcorn and might have asbestos in it. Probably not gonna get it. But the few things they did ask for were, he's an electrical engineer, so they wanted the grounded outlets. And they were promised grounded outlets, 4 in the kitchen, 1 in each bathroom. We walked through the house yesterday, they went through the whole thing, we were there for almost an hour, and then he said, oh, let's test these outlets in the kitchen. And started carrying around a stand mixer to plug in and see if it would trip. And guess what? There were 2 grounded outlets near the sink. And there were 2 that were not, because the electrician said, you don't need that, and everybody else involved said, okay. And they were thinking that they would back out of the deal because of $100 worth of electrical work, yeah, because of the principle of the thing, because they said there were 4 and they lied, and there's only 2. And there was a lot of discussion about it, and it was hard for me because I just felt like, here's $100. I mean, I just wanted to say, let's get rid of it. But I really wanted to try and hear them and it worked, but boy, that was.
Sometimes my favorite thing to do is just remind them that the sellers do not convey. Sellers don't come with the house. It's okay. All right, we're gonna do one last slide. That is kind of a when in doubt. This works for all of them, and it touches on each personality type. If you go through this system, when there's conflict in that. And so step one, and it's important that you do not skip steps, because when you skip steps, that's where you get in trouble. So step number one is acknowledging whatever they're upset about. I hear you. Giving them a chance to speak without interruption, even when they're speaking crazy talk, or they're highly charged, or they're emotional, or yelling, whether they're yelling at you or just yelling. I had a client who did a lot of yelling recently. He never yelled at me, he just yelled to me. So he would yell at the other people with me on the phone because he can't talk to the other side, I think that. But he would yell. And so the first thing is listening, acknowledging, I hear you. And then you're going to do something that I call fast food feedback. So think about when you go order through drive-through and you are going to order all the things, and throughout those things you might have a few questions, you might say blah 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 blah. It might take longer, and then at the very end they're going to repeat back to you your order, and they're going to skip all the fluff, but it's going to be straight back what they heard. Okay, and so you're going to repeat back to them what you heard them say. Not what you think they mean, not what they're just, what I'm hearing you say is you're upset because da 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 da. Or what I'm hearing you say is if we don't blah 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 blah, you're going to blah 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 blah. Just repeat it back. And then ask questions for understanding. Go at least 3 questions deep. Try to figure out what's really going on. Are they really worried that they didn't get those 2 outlets that are going to cost them $100? Or are they worried that, well, if they lied about this, what else have they lied about? What else are they hiding? Or are they worrying about, or are they, just mad on principle, which, so it's different things, right? Like you have an inspection that something was missed, this is what we're going to do. Versus, I know you're really upset, but the reality is the seller's not going to come to this house and you're never going to have to talk to them again. Or is it, now I'm drowning, I'm so, is it a mortgage problem? What's the real problem? And then empathize, number 4. What you feel, what you're thinking, whatever that bottom line motivation is valid. I hear you. This is, what you feel is, it's not unreasonable, even if you think it is.
I did it, I couldn't believe it, but I did it.
Even if you do this, because here's the truth, whatever they're feeling is valid.
It's how they feel.
It may be unreasonable, what they want may be unreasonable to happen as a result of it, may be insane, but what they feel is valid. And what they feel and that may, vary on their personality type, what's important to them, but whatever they're feeling is valid. And then after you've gone through all of those things, you can offer solutions. And, those solutions should match the core problem, not the surface problem. So, and that will hit on all of your personality types at some point. If you are listening, you're going to catch those S's so that they feel heard. If you are repeating back, those C's are going to know that you understand what they're looking at in the details, so they don't need to reiterate them to you because you've got them. If you're empathizing, the I's are going to understand that you feel and that you're feeling it with them. I'm frustrated for you. No, don't actually feel what they're feeling. That's very dangerous. But
It's exhausting.
I know. Your job is to keep a cool head no matter what, but I understand what you're feeling. Those eyes are going to be like, okay, they are on our team. And then when you offer solutions that are practical, you're your Ds are gonna get what they need. And so if you don't know, no matter what personality they fall under. And it doesn't matter, this might take 20 seconds or it might take 20 minutes, but if you go through this list and then offer real solutions. And the solution might be, can you give me just a few hours to think on this? I know a lot of you are new, so sometimes the solution at the end is. Can you give me a couple hours to think on this and see what I can come up with? I think we can come up with a solution, but I need to think. And during those 2 hours, you might think, or you might call a coach, or you might call a friend, or you might call whoever is available. But a solution, you don't have to have a solution right then. It's okay to say, all right, here's the review of what we've gone through. I think what you're feeling is valid. Let me see what I can come up with. Would you give me 2 hours or a day or till tomorrow? And then come back with their solutions, and then all of those personality types, no matter what you've done, have their needs met. Okay?
It sounds like you just perfectly described a CYA email in corporate world.
I never worked in corporate world. What's a CYA?
Color your ads.
Oh.
Thank you.
That is true. All right, that's all I got for you guys. Does anyone have any weird stories or challenges they want to brainstorm before we leave?
I'm just thinking how this could help my personal life as well, like with my family, cause
100%.
I was thinking of my oldest brother as a high D, but going through the slides that we did on the negatives was really helpful, because I think he's actually a high I. And that's how he's our relationship has been a little negative the past couple of years, and that whole list, I was like, wow, this is exactly how he's been behaving, so. Yeah, I feel like it's gonna help, my personal life and business as well. So.
All good.
What? Oh, yeah, he does like chocolate.
There's something you said, and just knowing their language, right? So I's do love gifts. These do not care. Don't waste their time. Be efficient. And S's do need you to just be with them without running them over. You encourage them to talk and encourage them to say what they think, and you can dig out. They will go to the moon and back for you. And a C's, if you can meet their needs of those details and let them feel like they're on top of things. And so it gives them, it's super empowering. So being able to give them what they need is huge in all walks of life.
Well, they're listening to people, bottom line.
There is an actual test to determine what I said.
There are lots of them. If you search DISC assessment, you can search a free version and it will probably be 10 to 12 questions, and it will be okay, so it can be something. I think Tony Robbins puts on a pretty solid one. It's like $40. But if you Google search it, there are everything from take it in 5 minutes for free to an hour-long in-depth personality assessment. So, yep. We're
So
we're
good for you.
taking.
Thank you.
You guys have an extra 45 minutes of your life back, so it was very nice to meet all of you. I'll see you around.
Thanks, everyone. Bye, everyone.
Goodbye. Zoom.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's so many great personality tests and exams and things.
Yeah.
There are so many, some of them are so detailed and so much more, like from a personal standpoint, I'm trying to learn about myself. I don't know that this is what I would jump to.
Did you do the KPA recently? I did, the Keller Williams one.
Yeah.
That one's great.
I know.
Yeah, it's pretty accurate.
Yeah, it is. And the only problem I have with I've heard Gary Keller say he's not a fan of the DISC system because it's not very precise. And he's right, but I can't KPA every person I encounter.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, the DISC is. I mean, it's not simple, but it's so much more simple.
Yeah.
Just ask those 2 questions and then kind of put them, you said not, people don't fit in a box, but kind of. Put it in a box.
Even if, and I'm coming from it from the point of view of having had these interactions and these deals and thinking in retrospect, what was it about this deal that didn't quite work for me? or that I felt like I wasn't really connecting, and I think it's because the personality types
Yeah.
are so different. It went through, it happened, it worked, but, I probably could have done it better.
Yeah.
But-
Well, I mean, you look at, I mean, like, so D, probably one of the reasons there's D's and S's tend to work well together. D's and D's